and I'm happy with this platform as a starting point. We continue to put the message across, and we continue to do business.
People should understand that business is not just something you just do, You also need to get educated. You need to have a mentor.
Welcome to Bridging Borders, the business podcast where Germany meets Zimbabwe. Here, we will break down real opportunities, real challenges, and strategies that connect the two worlds of business. No hype, no noise, just insights that matter. I'm your host, Sir Prosper, and together we will explore how entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators are building bridges across continents. Let's get started. Joining me today are two top business experts. First, Mr. Kumbirai Chipadza, a successful, renowned entrepreneur and business mogul, and Mr. Theudas Mambondo, the CEO of Successleiter Conglomerate. Gentlemen, it's an honor to have you both on the show. Welcome. Theudas, starting with you. What are the challenges that you have faced operating a business in Germany as someone coming from outside the country?
Thank you very much, Prosper. Greetings, Kumbi. I'm happy to be reaching you from the sunshine city of Harare. I'm right at the CBD, and you can look at my background. I'm sure you don't have a building that is such as good as this one in Germany. It's a special day. Thank you very much. So basically, Prosper, doing business in Germany. Germany is a formal system. It's a formal system. So when you want to do business in Germany, the first key things is to make sure you get your registration, your legal standing proper, so that you are able to maneuver within the German system. That's the first key thing. And another key highlight that I want everyone to know, German literally gives you and do what you call piloting a project. So if you want to operate any business, you have that opportunity where you are able to try it before you start to trade officially. So that's a very key leeway that is there in the German system. So basically, you need to do two key things. You need to make sure you have what we call a tax consultant. In German, it's called a Steuerberater. That's very, very, very important when you are doing business, especially as a foreigner, because you need these people to make sure that your accounting, your finances are being kept properly, and they are being presented to the authorities in a way that doesn't attract problems to you. I have good experience of having problems with the authorities because of trying to file for my books on my own. So you need to make sure that you have your tax consultant on board who is a Steuerberater. Then you also need to make sure that you go through a notar. This is what I recommend, registration process. Some people can do the registration online or everything, but I recommend going through a notar. Why? A notar will help you to craft your business. That doesn't give you much challenges in terms of your day-to-day operation. So you go through a notar, you register your business, and you start trading. And with those, making sure that you have your tax consultant will advise you, especially on which accounting software to use to make sure that everything you are doing is above board. Once you do that, things start flowing. Of course, you learn by doing, you learn from experience, but once you already have your framework ready to go, you're good to go. Thank you.
You've laid the foundation of what we should know when we want to start a business in Germany. And now, Kumbirai, what are the lessons that you have learned that other entrepreneurs should know if they want to enter into the German market?
Thanks a lot, Prosper. Yeah, I think my experience obviously secondly, because of our skin color as well, it's very difficult for people to trust you that you can be able to actually do business. So, I mean, we are here to tell the truth. I don't want to be someone who's politically correct. So some of the challenges that you face are from people actually believing you to say, oh, okay, you have that idea. Was it your idea? How did you think of it? Because of the misconception, or because of the just people being ignorant about that business is universal, it's global. So I think that for my own experience, that was one of the biggest challenges, that even people who were close to me did not believe that I could actually do business in Germany as a foreigner. Then secondly, obviously, the language issue is a big issue, because you'd find that most of the stuff that you go through, it's in German. So like as Theudas has talked about, the laws and a lot of things, the tax system itself. So sometimes you'd need actually to have a German partner in some of the things that we'll be doing, because if you are a foreigner and you don't speak the language, it's also very difficult. Then thirdly, and this can also be a shock, the bureaucratic system in Germany is very, very difficult. There's a lot of paperwork involved. I don't know why they like a lot of paperwork, but there's a lot of paperwork that is involved. So from that aspect as well, you would find that so many people they decide not to engage in business because of those loopholes. But I don't want to make it a grim picture. Actually, doing business in Germany is also very great. It's the largest economy in the world. It's the number one country in terms of machinery. So you'd find that it's very, very lucrative. There's a market for everything. And especially coming from Africa, you'd also find that there are a lot of things that Germany or Europe needs from Africa. And you'd also find out that going into Germany is not only about going to Germany, but it's about going to the EU. So Germany is also like the capital city of the EU in that respect. So yeah, I think there are both pros and cons of doing business in Germany, but I think the pros outweigh the cons, and it's a very good country to actually be doing business in. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kumbirai. Indeed, at the end of the day, this is the biggest economy. If we look at the numbers, the whole of Africa combined, imagine the whole of Africa combined, we are half of German economy on its own in terms of GDP. The GDP of Germany is close to 5 trillion. Us, we are just slightly above 2.5 trillion as a continent. So indeed, there are more opportunities in the German system. But of course, there are gatekeepers. They try to make sure that we don't penetrate, because they know once we get in, we have access to everything. So we continue to push, and I'm really inspired with your story, Kumbi, that besides everything, you managed to go through the system. You defied technically all odds, especially with the Kuchera $1 million deal. It's rare for most of us to really get to that level. So your story is an inspiration to many that it is doable. Besides the bureaucracy, the gatekeeping and everything, it's doable. On my case, I also faced quite a number of challenges. I came to Germany in 2016 as a student, and afterwards, I started working as a freelance consultant. So what the system does is that it doesn't support entrepreneurs, especially for foreigners. What gives them security is you to have a job, a permanent job. They give you papers, they give you citizenship. That's the route that they promote. So as an entrepreneur, there is no specific residence permit that is related to entrepreneurship. That's where the tricky part in doing business in Germany. So you have to find a way until your business really grows to give you a proper contract. That's a long way to go. So during the process, that's where a lot of business then fail. So I encourage, if you are a couple, I encourage you to strike a balance. One, try to have maybe a formal job or something that can back up your legal status as your business is growing. Because on average, everywhere, you need, for your business to really grow, I think you need up to 5 years on entrepreneurship. I've been doing this now in terms of as Successleiter, because Successleiter was registered in end of 2021. We are now reaching close to 5 years. That's when we are now seeing the light in terms of the stability. But I've been doing business consulting as a freelance since 2019. So it takes a bit of time, and there is need of striking that balance. And also, what we are trying to leverage on, Kumbi was selected as one of the 40 Africans to promote business between Germany and Africa. So what we are doing, Prosper, with Kumbi, is we are trying our best to use our expertise in the German system and support actually our government initiatives to come to Europe or other SMEs when they are coming. Like right now, we are working on a project where we are planning with when they come for Fruit Logistica, which is an agriculture, the biggest agriculture exhibition. We're trying to make sure that they don't just come and sit there at the exhibition. We want to make sure that they go around around Germany, and also when they come for ITB. That's what we are trying to do. Through helping each other, through working together, I'm sure we can have more breakthrough. And I'm happy with this platform as a starting point. We continue to put the message across, and we continue to do business. I'm sure Kumbi will also have one or two to add on that.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Theudas. I think, like you highlighted, the challenges that are there, but also the opportunity. I mean, as you pointed out with the Agile program, where we selected, we're actually a pioneering group. That they now do it every year. So we're chosen as 14 and German young business leaders to be able to contribute to economic acceleration to trade between Africa and Germany. We saw trade with Africa. And of the majority of that trade, most of it is concentrated in South Africa in terms of car production. So that problem is also a great opportunity for us. So like Theudas said, we're going to use this platform in terms of encouraging people, in terms of how do you do business in Germany and Africa? What are the opportunities, the risks as well, and also the networks? Because I firmly believe that your network is your net worth. So looking forward to continuously engaging and telling people and explaining about the opportunities available. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kumbirai. Indeed, your network is your net worth. So now let's talk about back home, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has its own challenges, yes, but there are also incredible opportunities. From your own perspective, Kumbirai, where do you see the biggest potential for business right now in Zimbabwe?
I think today we need to start at home. Charity begins at home, between Germany and Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, the German government, through its Africa Business Guide, speaks of Zimbabwe as one of the worst performers. It ranks among the worst performers in terms of economic value for Germans. I do not agree with that. I see that, I believe that there are so many opportunities. So you'll find that as we talk to German investors or German business people, there are a couple of things that they really mention more in terms about Zimbabwe. They know that in Zimbabwe, for example, we already have rich deposits of natural resources. We have a very fertile soil in terms of agriculture. We are very highly educated. And our road network, comparable to other countries in Africa, is quite good. And our positioning also in the SADC region itself, it's a gateway into Africa. From South Africa, you get into Zimbabwe, you can go to Mozambique, you can go to Zambia, you can go to the DRC, you can go to Malawi, and so on, Tanzania and the like. So there are so many opportunities in that aspect. The problem that is there is that Germany and Zimbabwe do not also share bilateral agreement, which is, it might be a shock, but although we have ambassadors both in Germany and Zimbabwe, but we don't have a strong bilateral partnership between our two countries as opposed to South Africa, as opposed to Kenya, as opposed to Rwanda. So those are the challenges that you would also find. The Germans also complain about the bureaucracy that is in the Zimbabwean economy, which I find a bit startling comparing them to us. Then you'd also find the issue of corruption. I want to highlight a case whereby there's a German company investor who invested in mining in Zimbabwe. I think it was in 2016. Then that mine was taken away from him by some Zimbabweans. And that story hit the international news, and it's often used as a benchmark to say Zimbabwe is bad to do business in. But I believe that there are so many opportunities. You'd look in terms of building on the production structure that's already there in Zimbabwe. You'd look at political level cooperation that is now there, with ZIDA involved as well, with the efforts, I especially from the Zimbabwean ambassador in Germany, the way she's really working with her team in order to bring German investors to Zimbabwe. But also, I think this is something that you'd find Theudas will touch more on. The issue of tourism is actually one of the lowest hanging fruits. you'd find that Germans, it was in 2021, just before Corona, if I'm not mistaken, they overtook the British in terms of being the number one tourists from then Europe, when Britain was still in Europe, to Africa, especially South Africa and Southern Africa. So you'd find that that is a very big market. And I believe that that is where we need to start in terms of tourism itself. If we are able to put tourism together with trade in one package, then I think we have an excellent way of marketing Zimbabwe. We have an excellent way of showing the beauty of Zimbabwe and also telling the Zimbabwean stories. And when they come to Zimbabwe, the Germans, they will be able to see for themselves. And when they come back, word of mouth is stronger than any advert. So that's what I would start by saying. Thank you.
That's very insightful, Kumbirai. I like the fact of how you blended in business and tourism. Tourism is often overlooked and yet is Zimbabwe's strongest asset. How do you see tourism shaping the future of Zimbabwe's economy and, tourism as a growth driver for Zimbabwe? Theudas, if you can come in and explain the impact of tourism.
Thank you, thank you very much, Prosper. Thank you very much, Kumbi, for highlighting that. That was a very brilliant way. So you see our history, our historical challenges that also Kumbi tackled on, is that we have not made enough noise to really convince especially the international people that things have changed in Zimbabwe. The policies have been implemented. That noise is not yet there. Only when you come on the ground, like what you see, that's what also Kumbi had to do with his investors. They have to come on the ground and get them to experience on their own, and they change their mindset. When you're out there, you cannot do that. At the same time, for you to be able to bring them on the ground, you cannot bring them just because of business, because of the perspective that they have. So tourism becomes a gateway. That's why actually we actually ventured into tourism. My current trip in Zimbabwe here, I came to Sanganai so that I interact with the players. So we established a better model. So with Kumbirai, we saw that that's a very good entry point. We're going to be organizing startup safaris where we link now these tourists that we are turning into investors to local people, to local opportunities. That's exactly the way to go, because our tourism speaks louder. You cannot argue that Vic Falls is beautiful. You cannot argue that we have all the big five. You cannot argue about those naturally will complement that, so that we are able to turn every tourist into an investor. And by doing so, we solve the problem in Zimbabwe. The main problem, yes, the political side is there, but it's getting better. But the main challenge we have especially for all the startups, is that capital is extremely expensive in Zimbabwe. It's difficult for a business to thrive with the interest rate that are currently on the ground. But now it works to the advantage, because it means now there's a higher return on investment. So if you are to invest in Zimbabwe, you are guaranteed a higher rate of investment than any other country. That's why, the Minister of Finance was saying Zimbabwe is the biggest tech. It's a big opportunity that comes through that. But what we want to achieve within the next 5 years is to be able to lower that interest rate. And we lower that by bringing more investment, more capital into the market. Then the supply will outweigh the demand. So that's what we will be doing on tourism. There are more opportunities, and this sector is more than open. We are going to be discussing in full once we have finalized our models. We are going to encourage more people to come into the tourism, because we want as many players as possible. The business tourism is very simple because it's commission based. So we are going to make sure that technically almost every Zimbabwe can have that opportunity of having a commission on the tourists that you bring to Zimbabwe. And it's a win-win for the country. The more people come, they come with everything, and we are able to strike a balance in doing business in Zimbabwe. But above all, I'm sure, Kumbi, we have to find a way of making people understand the changes that has taken place for the past 5 to 10 years in terms of policy making, in terms of doing business in Zimbabwe, how Zida is very responsive. Just like in my background, that building, ZB, that's where Zida is. You can walk in anytime, they attend to you, they ensure if you want to set up a business, they can do that right away. So there are so many positives that have come in, but the message is not out there. And I think it is our duty. We have realized, I remember during our last event, we tried with Kumbi to promote Zimbabwe. We had an event in Lunabek where we come to try and put the message across. So we both agree that no matter what we do, as long as Zimbabwe is still have some negatives, it's associated with us. We are Zimbabweans, so it's our responsibility to do our best to market our country and to put those positive stories out there. And thank you for this opportunity. I hope we continue to put the message across that it's possible to do business in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Theudas, for highlighting the fact that Zimbabwe is not just a tourist spot, but also a place to invest. Now, Kumbirai, there are so many young Zimbabweans and young foreigners who are staying in Germany. What is your advice that you can give to them in terms of getting into the business industry?
Yeah, thanks. I think it might sound like a cliche, but I think it is never been easier to do business in the world than in the time we are living in. There is no excuse. The fact that we are seated in 3 different countries, we are speaking, we are discussing this, you can just do business even in countries you've never set foot in. I've worked with people that I've never met in different countries all over the world. With WhatsApp, with social media, if used in the correct way, you can network with so many people. You can use LinkedIn, you can use Facebook. Now people are also using, what's the new one? This one that I don't understand, TikTok as well. So to any young person aspiring, business has never been easier to do. But I think also people should understand that business is not just something you just do. You also need to get educated. You need to have a mentor. You need to also study, invest yourself in terms of going to hubs. You can learn online, ChatGPT, Grok, all those things can be able to assist you. And I feel that the world we are living in, it's time for young Africans to stand up, because Africa is the next big thing in the world. It's the biggest growing economy in the world. With after and us on the way to be having one economy, one currency, it makes us the biggest economy itself in the world, both in terms of GDP, then both in terms of number of people. So for me, I challenge the young people out there. It's time for you to rise. It's time for Africa to rise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It was a pleasure having you here today with so much knowledge and good insight that you are sharing here. That's all for today's episode of Bridging Borders. I'm your host, Sir Prosper. Until next time, Bridging Borders, Building Futures. Thank you.